Hi, I'm Jonathan Fouser, one of the deputy heads of school here at Brewster Madrid.
Hello, I am Evelyn Hargett. I am going to be the head of the lower school here at Brewster Madrid.
And we are really delighted to welcome Evelyn to Madrid and to Brewster. We feel that this is a great relationship and have really enjoyed working together over the last couple weeks as we get ready to launch an innovative, remarkable lower school. Evelyn, I'm curious about what drew you to Brewster Madrid.
You know, Brewster Madrid is unique in that it speaks to transforming education and transforming communities and bringing purpose to everyone's lives, and that was something I really connected deeply with. I feel like education, according to the research of Dewey and Loris Malaguzzi, is for transforming society and preparing it for the future and bringing us together more, and that is something I value. That is something I want the children to see. I want them to experience becoming who they intended to be, like realizing their gifts, their talents, and being a part of that, and seeing them flourish and go off and contribute to the world is really important.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I do have a follow-up to that. One idea of we're so blessed to be located in central Madrid. How might your students and your teachers use our location to benefit their learning?
We are surrounded by opportunity, and it's just astounding how much opportunity there is. So I would imagine our education would look completely different than an isolated school in a village, because we have access to so many museums, so many places to go, and we intend to take the children out as part of their units of inquiry to actively research on the ground, on the field, go out, find the answers to their questions in the museums, and the different opportunities that we have. I still have yet to explore them all, but I know that there's lots.
Yeah, I think that what's so remarkable is being in central Madrid, but also having this really glorious campus with green space, multi-surface sports, and I would imagine the lower school kids each day would be out playing on the playground, learning, working in what I've learned is called a mud kitchen, a place for students to explore.
For our early years, we want to produce a program that brings about play-based learning and allows lots of opportunities for them to explore through their senses, to make connections about the world through experiential learning. And that is carefully organized by teachers who are paying attention to student interest, putting out materials that will extend on their curiosities, allowing them to explore, yes, in a mud kitchen, how water mixes with textures and colors, and how they can create things out there and play. During the early years, it's very important for children to get into a zone. The brain forms, and all the connections in the brain that form through getting in a zone and playing and repeating patterns of play are what prepares them for the upper school. So we want to maximize those opportunities, especially since children in the city don't have a chance to get dirty and do things like that. Get them into gardening, get them into building and constructing outside. Those are things that definitely we will be pursuing with the lower school.
Well, that's
early years children.
That's great, and it's so closely aligned with what we hope all of our students are engaging in, and that's joyful learning. It's a term that we use day in and day out. It's a term that Craig Gemmell always talks about. A good educational community, you see joyful learning, kids laughing, kids challenging each other, kids thriving, and faculty thriving as well. One thing that I'm really curious about is your work with concept-based instruction, and how do you think that approach to education might transform our lower school?
I think that concept-based inquiry, many of you are familiar with inquiry-based learning, but the concept-based inquiry goes a step further, and that we ensure that the facts that they gather from their inquiry are connected to concepts, so they are able to transfer information across disciplines. The point of it being that they learn to think more deeply and more critically, and we're supporting the development of those thinking skills. The joy in that is that it's usually connected, almost always we try to connect it to issues that the children are interested in and they feel are important to them to solve. And our issues we'll be trying to solve are right here in the heart of Quevedo, this part right here. We'll be walking out and seeing what issues do we see and trying to solve problems that are meaningful to them. And so there's a joy in that. Even in math we'll be approaching mathematics through concept-based inquiry. So we'll have case studies approach problems that we're going to solve together and challenge each other to be clever and efficient with our solutions, but also to generalize on that and say, this is now what I understand about math. And from that, we can extend and challenge them to go deeper with their thinking.
That's right, and this is all suggesting that our students will benefit and be engaged in deep learning every day. What I love about it is there's a degree of abstraction, but it's also real. The students learn something, then they can apply it directly, and in that way really deepen their understanding.
And then as a learning community, we work really hard to make all this thinking visible. So the different organizers that we use to organize our thinking can also be made as posters displayed on the walls. So anytime a parent came to visit the children, they could ask, what have you been learning recently? Can you explain this on the wall? I would hope that the children would be able to make meaning of it because they would have been a part of creating it and they would know what it means and could explain their new understandings. And that's the point of concept-based inquiry, that they are heavily involved in that thinking, that teachers aren't doing the thinking for them. We facilitate the discussions so they can make the connections and articulate their own new knowledge and understandings themselves.
Yeah, and I think this idea of the lower school, when you walk in, you can actually feel and see and hear what the children are learning. And you're right, when they can start to define that and describe that to parents, this is what we're really endeavoring to do.
Another part of that is the assessment piece, because they have to know their learning journey, they have to know their strengths, they have to know where they want to go. And so having them a part of that from the beginning of the year, when we set our goals and we invite the parents in to discuss those goals, and then we track them all throughout the year and reflect on our progress, the children become very aware of themselves, they can self-regulate, they can actually advocate for themselves for what they need, if they need some new tools or something to help them access the material. But having them as a critical part of that formative assessment, that ongoing daily assessment, is 90% of it, right? 10% is that final project piece. But the majority of their assessment and what we observe about their learning will be together through that ongoing formative process. So we won't be thinking of them in terms of a letter grade or a number score, but on their progress towards achieving their goals and where we see they should be pedagogically at the end of the year. And those are goals that we set with the parents and the children together.
Yeah, and so much of what you've just spoken to is about how we collaborate. At Brewster, we collaborate through team meetings. We're continually visiting each other's classes, really seeking to deepen our practice. What are some ways you will collaborate with parents, with students, and your faculty during this first year?
Let's begin with parents. Parents are going to be invited in throughout the year for parent workshops where we're going to explain our process. We'll try to do those on a monthly basis. They'll be invited into our celebrations of learning. When we finish a unit of inquiry, we'll invite you in to see all the wonderful learning that has happened, and the children will explain what they've learned or demonstrate it through a performance or do something that it shows you their progress. We'll do it through conferencing, like the goal setting conferences, the student-led conferences that we have during the year. And anytime you want to come in, you're welcome. Parents are always welcome. If there's any concern, please come in. It's more, it's easier to talk about a concern in person with the teacher or with the leadership than it is to write an email. So come in. You're always welcome. For teachers, we're always going to be collaborating because to meet the needs of every child requires a team. And we need to work closely together to make sure every child is challenged at their zone of proximity. Like not too far, not stretched too far where they're uncomfortably and they feel like our motivation is waning, but right at that sweet spot. And we never want it to be too easy. So we want them to struggle, because a good struggle is what's part of what brings the joy. Because when they struggle through that, then they feel so proud of themselves and what they achieve, that there's joy there too. So the collaboration to articulate the understandings that we're going to shoot for requires a team. It's hard work.
It's hard
It's
work.
hard work to write that curriculum. So we need to work together, because by yourself you can't do your best job. So.
That's right. It's hard work, but it is such essential work. And what really strikes me today in this conversation is just how aligned we are at the lower school, the middle school, and the upper school, all seeking to have joyful learning, deep learning, and really transforming education here in Madrid, back in Wolfboro, and across the world. Thank you.
Thank you.